Could you tell us more about how to rate a session RPE? Now, this is a great question. And admittedly, there are a number of uncertainties around session RPE. So I'm going to try to be. Is a tool for monitoring an individual's training load. It has been used along with session duration to come up with a numerical sort of training load to keep track of an individual's workload over time. So typically you would rate somebody's training, the session RP after the session, 0 to 10, and you multiply it by the duration of the session, you get a number. And so
Almost like a commonsensical thing, like don't crank up the amount you're doing compared with what you're used to or what you're adapted to, but the validity of a particular, quantity in terms of a percentage or a ratio, that's what it's like. We don't really have great evidence to support that. Injuries and pain and stuff is way more complicated than that and super individualized, right? So both you and I have had varying experiences with pain and injury over the years. We've had clients who we've coached, some who have been just like, insane. They can handle anything we throw at them and they just like never get hurt. And others who, seemingly deal with aches and pains, even, when we don't change their training volume all that much and it just kind of emerges out of nowhere. So it's just, there's too much mess here to deal with like very specific amounts. But as
yeah,
a concept, it's useful.
I agree. Yeah. And so, as far as the practical tool itself, the individual should answer after the training session is done, how hard was the workout? Using a scale 0 to 10, where 0 is rest, 5 is hard, 7 is very hard, and 10 is maximal. The data is limited on any specific ratio, as we mentioned, for acute to chronic workload, and the data is even more limited on a target sort of session RPE. That said, this is more of a checkbox item as far as how I use it, where we'd like to see most training sessions in that sort of 3 to 5 range, few in the 7 or less than 3 range, and very rarely outside of that. If somebody was routinely, rating their session 10, 10, 10, 10, that's a dead giveaway that the training is too hard for the individual. As far as the source of that quote hardness, I don't know if it's volume, proximity to failure, rest periods, or a combination of factors. That's another question that would need to be answered, but that's a dead giveaway that, this probably isn't great. Similarly, if things are 2, 2, 2, 2, I think that the training is likely too easy for the individual. So it's kind of like a Goldilocks approach. You want it to be just right. As far as what's just right, I think most of the work should be in that session RPE of 3 to 5. And if it's way above that or way below that, I start getting concerned that we might have missed something when it comes to prescribing exercise for this individual.